Today, a resolution was passed by the City of Vancouver, first of all writing a letter to the Prime Minister of Canada, asking him to stop this proposed expansion of the Kinder Morgan pipeline and expressing the City of Vancouver's very strong opposition. Of course, I think most people are not holding their breath for Stephen Harper to listen to the City of Vancouver's concerns and actually stop the pipeline. Given that the City of Vancouver has limited regulatory authority in terms of, actually stopping this, they're looking for innovative ways that they can, really do something to slow Kinder Morgan down, or if not stop them. And the approach they took today, which I think is actually quite creative and interesting, was they've asked for 100% liability for Kinder Morgan. They're drafting a new bylaw which will actually basically force Kinder Morgan's hand and put Kinder Morgan in a position where they have to then publicly state that, of course, they're not going to pay 100% of the cost of an oil spill if and when one takes place. The costs are estimated in the billions. If you look at any major oil spill historically, just Exxon Valdez is one familiar case study. 20 years after the fact, they're still in court fighting over who's going to pay the bills. And, there's many people whose health is, forever been altered. There's whole, stocks of fish that'll never come back. So this Texas-based oil super company, Kinder Morgan, the biggest pipeline company on earth, run by the 100th richest man on the planet, Richard Kinder, a former Enron executive, has bought up the Trans Mountain pipeline. It's where about 90% of our oil comes from. It's an old pipeline from about 60 years ago it was first built. But it's really only been since Kinder Morgan bought the pipeline that it's been used for exporting tar sands oil to markets in Asia and elsewhere. Their plan now is to build a new pipeline, actually about the same size as the Enbridge pipeline, right next to the existing Trans Mountain pipeline. They want to build a 550,000 barrel a day pipeline, all for the sake of export. So what that would mean for our inlet is we'd see an increase from the about 80 tankers a year that we have now up to 360 tankers a year. Each one of them carrying about 3 times as much as was spilled by the Exxon Valdez. And of course, almost everybody that you talk to in the City of Vancouver and the surrounding areas thinks that that's just a risk too great to accept. There's very little benefit for any of us. And of course, if you're concerned about climate change, this is a huge step in the wrong direction. The good news is they have to go through us to get this done. We're directly in between the oil sands, one of the biggest remaining sources of fossil fuels, or at least of oil, left on planet Earth, and the big expanding markets in Asia and down in California and all through the Pacific region. I think they're going to have an incredibly difficult time getting past the unified First Nations opposition, which is historic and unprecedented at these levels. The citizenry who's saying absolutely no way, we will do everything in our power to stop it. And now, the new sort of leadership that we're seeing from our municipal governments. The Union of BC Municipalities has come out with strong concerns about both the Enbridge pipeline, and now they've recently started to comment as well on the Kinder Morgan pipeline, calling for full, meaningful public consultations. And now in just the last few weeks, we've had the Mayor of Burnaby come out calling for people to take action. And just today, the City of Vancouver passing this resolution, really strongly saying no to the proposal. Kerry Jiang also spoke quite eloquently and passionately about his concerns. He talked about the other municipalities and actually the ongoing legal fight that's going on in Burnaby right now with Kinder Morgan to dealing with their spill in 2007. And he simply said, look at the track record. He said the maps that they had didn't even show accurately where the pipeline was. And now they're fighting the City of Burnaby in court. Basically, the campaign around the Kinder Morgan pipeline is kind of like where the Enbridge pipeline was a couple of years ago. Before it was really on the public radar, before they'd officially submitted their filings to the National Energy Board, when people who were sort of working on the campaign were quite feverishly involved on a day-to-day basis, but the story hadn't really broken. And I think that's kind of where we're at with the Kinder Morgan pipeline right now. They've just announced to the public what their intentions are in terms of the size and scope of their project. And it's really, people are waking up all of a sudden. The communities who potentially are being impacted are starting to organize. Landowners whose land is about to be, dug up for the sake of this pipeline are starting to raise alarm. Public meetings are starting to crop up all along the pipeline route and around the inlet, and the media attention has just, been through the roof. We've gone from, the odd story here and there to being on the front page of all 3 major papers on one day, and all the major networks doing stories on an almost daily basis, and a real flurry of commentary about this, from all over the spectrum. So hopefully we just continue along that route. I think if you look at the number of people who signed up to speak out against the Enbridge pipeline, even though it's not directly in their backyard, thousands of people right here in Vancouver signed up to speak at the Joint Review Panel hearings. And for many of those people that I talked to, they didn't even know what Kinder Morgan was doing already, let alone what their plans are. So I think as those people start to become aware and informed, I can't imagine how this pipeline will ever get built.